वेलकम टू द सपना झूम स्कूलिंग चॅनल. डिअर फ्रेंड्स, आज आपण 8th स्टँडर्ड सायन्सचा 15 चॅप्टर साऊंड त्याची एक्सरसाइज बघणार आहोत. ओके, तो फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन काय आहे? The first question आहे, fill in the blank with the appropriate word. The region in a sound wave with a higher pressure and density is called compression. Okay, बघा, with a higher pressure it's a compression, and with the lower pressure and density is called rarefaction. Medium is needed or necessary for generation of a sound. The total number of compressions and rarefactions produced per second in a sound wave is 1000. Okay, so 500 compressions and 500 rarefactions. The frequency of the sound wave is 500 hertz. Okay, so here it's the total number is 1000, so 500 compressions and 500 rarefactions are produced per second. Question D. Different sound notes have different frequencies. Question E. In a loudspeaker, mechanical energy is converted into sound energy. Question 2. Give scientific reasons. Okay, so it is essential to change the tension in the vocal cords as we produce different sound notes from our larynx. Different sound notes correspond to different frequencies. The frequency of a sound depends on the tension in the vocal cord. Hence, it is essential to change the tension in the vocal cord as we produce different sound notes our larynx. Question B. Astronauts on the moon cannot hear each other directly. The two astronauts on the moon talking to each other directly will be unable to listen to each other even if they are close to each other. The moon does not have atmosphere. Okay, since there is no medium which is necessary for generation and propagation of sound between the astronauts, direct sound propagation between them is not possible. Therefore, the astronauts use some technology like the one used in our cell phones to communicate with each other. The waves used in a cell phone do not need any medium or propagation. As the sound wave propagates from one place to the other in air, the air itself is not required to move from one place to the other. Propagation of sound through air occurs due to energy transfer by vibrating air molecules in one region to those in the adjacent region away from the source. The molecules simply vibrate about their mean positions, hence, the air itself is not required to move from one place to the other. Now, question 3. How are different sound notes generated in musical instruments like guitar, which uses strings for sound generation, and flute, which uses blown air for sound generation? Okay, so first we see guitar. It is a string based flat backed instrument. It has usually 6 strings. The strings are plucked or strummed with the fingers or a small piece of plastic or wood, okay, etc. It has a flat sounding board. Okay, so with the circular sound hole in the center. Also, it has a fretted fingerboard. Okay, so its frequency range is more than 3 octaves. The frequency of vibration of the string is changed by changing the tension in the string or changing the vibrating length of the string. Okay, as the tension is increased, the frequency increases. As the vibrating length is increased, the frequency decreases. This is how different sound notes are generated. Okay, note the acoustic guitar has hollow body and 6 to 12 strings, while the electric guitar usually has a solid body and 6 strings. Okay, the electric bass guitar has 4 strings. Now, flute. It's a wind instrument where air is blown against the edge or rim of the blowing hole. The frequency of the sound produced depends upon the length of the vibrating air column in the tube. The greater the length of the vibrating air column, the less is the frequency of the sound produced. This is how the different sound notes are produced. The flute has 6 or 7 or 8 holes to generate sounds of a different frequencies. Different notes can be generated also by changing the way of air blowing. Now, question 4. How is the sound produced in the human larynx and loudspeaker? Okay, the sound production in the human larynx in the humans Okay, in the human, sound is produced in the voice box called the larynx. Okay, it is located at the upper end of the windpipe. Two vocal cords are stretched across it with a narrow slit between them for the passage of air. Okay, so you'll see that in figure. Okay, when the lungs force air through the slit, the cords start vibrating. Okay, the frequency of the sound produced depends upon the length and thickness of the cords and the tension in the cords. Okay, the frequency increases with the increase in tension, and the more the length of the or the thickness of the cord, the less the frequency. Muscle attached to the cords can make the cords tight, more tension, or loose, less tension. Okay, this is the diagram of the larynx. Okay, so it's swelling, vocal cord, trachea, esophagus wall. Sound production in the loudspeaker. So this is the diagram of the sound speaker of the loudspeaker. Okay, internal constructions of the loudspeaker. Here it's a coil, it's a screen, it's a permanent magnet. Figure shows the internal constructions of the loudspeaker. Here a coil is wound around a permanent magnet. Okay, the conical screen of the loudspeaker is attached to the coil. When a current is passed through the coil, the magnetic field is produced. Okay, its interaction with the permanent magnet results in the back and forth motion of the coil. The frequency and the amplitude of the motion of the coil depends on the vibration in the current through the coil. As the coil moves, the conical screen also moves back and forth. The vibrations of the screen produces sound waves in air. Very loud sound can be produced by changing the current. Okay, if you gently touch the vibrating screen, you can feel the vibrations. Now question 5, explain the experiment with the neat diagram to prove the following. Okay, sound needs a material medium for propagation. So here it's a bell jar. Okay, electric bell. Okay, medium is necessary for the propagation of sound. Here it's a vacuum pump. Figure shows part of the setup used in this experiment. What is not shown is the electric circuit, which is in which the electric bell is connected. A vacuum tight bell jar contains an electric bell connected to a power supply through the lid of the jar. The jar is placed on a smooth horizontal surface such as that of glass. Initially, the vacuum pump is off and the jar contains air. The circuit containing the bell is completed using the key or switch so that the bell starts ringing. This can be heard outside the jar. Then the vacuum pump is switched on so that it starts removing the air from the jar. We find that the level of the ringing sound heard goes on decreasing as the quantity of the air in the jar becomes less and less. When the pump is operated for sufficient long time interval, the quantity of air in the jar becomes so less that the level of ringing sound becomes very low. Sound is hardly audible, but we can see the striker in the bell hitting the gong. By extrapolation, we conclude that sound generation and propagation needs a medium. Okay, match the following: human larynx, vibration in the vocal cord. Okay, loudspeaker, vibrations of screen. Jal taranga, vibrations in the air column. Turning fork, vibrations of a metal arm. Sitar, vibrations of inner strings. Now the project. Take two plastic glasses and tie a thread between them to make a toy phone. Does the voice of your phone reaches you through the thread? Okay. Take a metal wire instead of the thread and also change the length of the thread wire and repeat the activity. Discuss with your friends and teacher about your conclusion. Now, second project. Take a plastic or tin can or a plastic glass, remove its bottom, stretch a piece of rubber balloon across one end and fix it with the rubber band. Put a few grain of say ragi or bajra on the stretched rubber. Now ask your friend to shout hurry, hurry, hooray. from the open end of the glass. Observe the dancing of the grains up and down. Discuss the reason behind this. मित्रांनो, जर तुम्हाला आमचे व्हिडिओ आवडत असेल तर हा कोड स्कॅन करून तुम्ही आम्हाला काही डोनेशन पाठवू शकता, जेणेकरून आम्हाला आमचं काम करण्यासाठी, अथकपणे करण्यासाठी प्रोत्साहन मिळेल. आणि थँक्यू व्हेरी मच. व्हिडिओला लाईक करायला विसरू नका.